Welcome to another journey through literature. Today we're diving deep into Robert Louis Stevenson's enduring masterpiece, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Our focus for this session is Chapter 6, famously titled The Remarkable Incident of Dr. Lanyon. If you joined us last time, you'll remember we left things on a really unsettling note. Mr. Utterson was grappling with the aftermath of Sir Danvers Carew's brutal murder. All signs pointed to Hyde. Utterson had just seen Jekyll, who gave him a letter, supposedly from Hyde, swearing they were done.
Yeah.
But then, Utterson's clerk, Mr. Guest, noticed something chilling.
Yeah, that handwriting discovery.
Exactly. Hyde's handwriting looked almost identical to Jekyll's, and that just blew apart the idea that Jekyll was simply being blackmailed. It hinted at something much, much darker.
Absolutely. That moment in Chapter 5, it's like a narrative earthquake, isn't it? It really shifts everything. We move from thinking about Hyde's crimes to Jekyll's potential deep involvement. So the big question going into this chapter, Chapter 6, becomes, what are the real consequences of all this? What happens next, especially to the people close to Jekyll? Because this chapter, it's a major step up in the rising action. The suspense really ramps up and we see the awful impact of Jekyll's secret hitting someone very close to him. It's not just Jekyll's internal struggle anymore. It's spilling out, causing real damage.
Okay, let's unpack this chapter then, piece by piece. So Chapter 6 kicks off and seems like things have calmed down a bit after the murder and Hyde's disappearance. What really jumps out is how quickly London reacts to Hyde just vanishing. It's almost like this collective sigh of relief, isn't it? How does Stevenson show that?
It's fascinating, yeah. Stevenson uses Hyde's absence almost symbolically, like a cleansing. The book mentions a big reward being offered for him, showing the public outrage. But as Hyde stays hidden, something else happens. These stories start circulating about his past cruelty, his violence, his connections with strange people. It's not just that a criminal is gone. It feels like a dark cloud has lifted from the city.
So society feels safer, cleaner almost.
Exactly, and that tells you a lot about Victorian London. Appearances, respectability, public moral, they were everything. Hyde, with his, indescribable wrongness and violence, he was an affront to all that. He was like the embodiment of the hidden darkness everyone pretended wasn't there. So him disappearing, that's like order being restored, a moral stain removed.
And the city's anonymity helps him just fade away.
Precisely. London's vastness lets him operate in the shadows, but it also lets him disappear quietly. And the gossip that fills the void, it really highlights those Victorian anxieties about what might be lurking just beneath the surface, those strange people he knew. That hints at the less respectable side of London, the world away from Utterson's polite society, the world Jekyll was perhaps dangerously close to. The city's reaction is almost a collective moral judgment.
Okay, so Hyde's gone, London relaxes. And what about Jekyll? He seems to go through this amazing transformation himself, doesn't he? Like, he's finally free.
Oh, absolutely. For a short while, anyway. Jekyll seems genuinely better off without Hyde, as the text says. He goes back to being his old, self-sociable, friendly kind.
The Jekyll everyone knew and liked.
Yes. Stevenson describes him regaining his old, pleasant manner. He even starts throwing dinner parties again, inviting Utterson and Lanyon, trying to mend those friendships.
So psychologically, this is him trying to reclaim his respectable identity.
I think so. It's definitely a temporary reprieve, maybe even a bit of a false dawn. It shows how relieved he is to be free from Hyde, physically at least, and the huge moral weight he was carrying. For a moment, he gets his public persona back, the one he values so much. He's trying to reconstruct that life, the respected scientist, the social figure.
Almost like he's trying to convince himself, too.
That's a great point. Maybe it's less about genuine happiness and more a desperate, almost frantic attempt to prove to himself and others that he's still Dr. Henry Jekyll, the good one. That he really is done with Hyde, like he told Utterson.
A fragile piece, then.
Very fragile. And narratively, this brief calm works brilliantly. It's the lull before the storm. It makes what happens next, the fall of Jekyll and Lanyon, feel even sharper, even more tragic. We almost hope things are okay, just like Utterson might have.
But like you said, it's short-lived. This internal battle Jekyll's fighting, it just won't stay hidden for long, no matter how normal he tries to act.
Yeah.
What triggers the change this time?
Well, it shatters pretty quickly and dramatically. The narrative swings back to unease. Soon after this brief social period, Stevenson tells us Jekyll is sick again.
Not just physically sick, though.
No, definitely not. It says he changes and refuses to see anyone. Utterson, being the loyal friend he is, keeps trying to visit, but he's turned away every time. The servants just say Jekyll's too ill. And then, crucially, Jekyll locks himself away in his laboratory. Strict orders. Nobody gets in.
So what's going on with him psychologically here? Is he losing control?
It certainly seems like it. This withdrawal points to a massive internal struggle, maybe even escalating. The sickness isn't just physical, it's a deep psychological, maybe even spiritual, torment, a direct result of his experiments and the fight against Hyde.
And refusing visitors, is that shame or fear?
Probably both, a desperate attempt to keep his secret hidden, or perhaps the transformations are becoming involuntary, happening more often. He might be terrified of being seen, maybe even as Hyde. The text mentions his self-blame, which is key. He feels immense guilt for his suffering, wants to be alone, suggesting he feels helpless against this thing inside him.
And the laboratory setting becomes symbolic again.
Absolutely. It was a place of science, of discovery.
Yeah.
Now it's his prison, a self-made cell where he's trapped with his affliction. It symbolizes his isolation, the dark path his experiments led him down. Those locked doors, Utterson being denied entry, it all reinforces that theme of secrecy, the barrier Jekyll has put up around his true self.
So even with Hyde gone, the mystery around Jekyll just deepens.
Exactly. His reclusiveness builds the tension right back up. We're back with Utterson, seeing things only from his limited view, forced to guess alongside him. It creates this heavy sense of foreboding. Jekyll isn't just ill, he's retreating from the world, hinting at a crisis far beyond a simple sickness.
So Jekyll withdraws, trapped, and then the story shifts focus, really dramatically and tragically, to Dr. Lanyon, Jekyll's other old friend. We know Lanyon already thought Jekyll's ideas were unscientific balderdash, but what happens to him now is it sounds like it's incredibly sudden and awful.
It really is. And if you look at the bigger picture, Lanyon's fate in this chapter is probably the most chilling sign of just how horrifying Jekyll's experiments truly are. Utterson goes to see Lanyon, probably hoping for some explanation about Jekyll, but what he finds is just deeply disturbing. Lanyon is described as terribly ill. He has a death warrant written legibly upon his face.
Wow. Not just sick, but marked for death.
Precisely. And it's not just physical. It's described as a profound spiritual decay, an existential collapse.
How does this contrast with Lanyon before?
Starkly. Think about Lanyon up to now, the picture of scientific reason. Healthy, composed, very Victorian. Now, he's pale, thin, trembling. He's consumed by this deep-seated terror of the mind.
The terror of the mind. That's powerful phrasing.
It is. His physical state is a direct mirror of the psychological shock he's suffered. He tells Utterson straight up, "I have had a shock and I shall never recover. It is a question of weeks."
He knows he's dying from it?
Yes. He says the knowledge he has is more than he can bear. Whatever he saw, whatever he learned, it didn't just challenge his beliefs, it shattered his entire view of reality, his scientific foundation, and ultimately his will to live. It's not a normal illness. It's horror literally killing him.
And thinking about the Victorian context, Lanyon represents that traditional, rational science.
Exactly. He's the bastion of empirical, respectable science. His complete destruction highlights those deep Victorian fears about radical science, about crossing moral and scientific boundaries. His death is like a grim warning against the very unscientific balderdash he used to mock in Jekyll. It shows how Jekyll's hubris, his forbidden knowledge, is contagious, destroying not just him, but those who stumble onto his secret.
It suggests some truths are just too terrible to know.
That's the implication. Lanyon's rational mind just couldn't cope when faced with something so unnatural, so monstrous. It broke him.
And what about his friendship with Jekyll? That seems completely obliterated.
Oh, utterly. It's devastating. The break is absolute and final. Lanyon tells Utterson, and you can almost hear the bitterness and anger, that his friendship with Jekyll is over. Full stop.
He wants nothing more to do with him.
He says he wants to see or hear no more of Dr. Jekyll. He even says he prefers to treat him as dead. This isn't just drifting apart, it's a complete violent severing of a lifelong bond.
And this goes way beyond their scientific disagreements now.
Way beyond. Before, we thought it was just professional differences, Jekyll being too fanciful for Lanyon's taste. But this is raw horror, moral disgust, deep psychological trauma. Lanyon's harsh words, his intense anger, which the text explicitly notes, it's so unlike the composed doctor we knew. It screams that the shock wasn't just surprising, it was fundamentally repulsive, violating everything Lanyon believed in. It's betrayal and disgust on a profound level.
It really is like seeing something unspeakable has physically destroyed him from the inside out. Is there a line that really captures that feeling?
I think there is. Lanyon makes this incredibly bleak philosophical comment to Utterson. He says, "I sometimes think if we knew all, we should be more glad to get away."
Chilling. Like death is preferable to knowing the full truth.
Exactly. It's a testament to just how horrifying the truth he carries is. And it makes you, the listener, wonder, is some knowledge just too terrible? Is ignorance, even leading to death, better? That line is loaded. It foreshadows the final reveal, sure, but it also just hammers home the crushing weight of Jekyll's secret and its devastating consequences. Lanyon, the man of facts and reason, saw something that defied all reason and it simply broke him. He chooses, in a way, to get away by dying.
Wow.
And even the setting adds to it. Stevenson mentions the melancholy candle lighting Lanyon's room during Utterson's visit, that single flickering candle. It's pure symbolism.
Reflecting the mood.
Perfectly. It reflects the gloom, the despair, Utterson's own dread, and it visually foreshadows Lanyon's fading life. It creates this heavy atmosphere of sorrow, underlining the destructive power of Jekyll's secret. The weak light is like Lanyon's own fading life force.
So Lanyon dies, just weeks later, overcome by this terrible shock. But he doesn't go without leaving one last massive piece of the puzzle, does he? It's like a final cryptic twist.
He certainly does. And his final act really throws the themes of truth and secrecy back into the spotlight, raising questions about how information gets controlled in this story. Just before he dies, or rather after his death, it's revealed he left a private letter specifically for Mr. Utterson. But there's a catch, a big one.
The instructions.
The very specific, very dramatic instructions. This letter must not be opened until Dr. Jekyll has either died or disappeared himself.
Talk about building suspense.
Right. This letter instantly becomes the new symbol of the novel's obsession with secrets. It creates this almost unbearable tension for Utterson and for us reading along. The truth is right there, but locked away. The whole act of sealing it, putting a time lock on it, tells you how explosive, how potentially scandalous Lanyon believed the contents were. Maybe he feared the public outcry, or maybe implicating Jekyll directly while he was still alive. It speaks volumes about Victorian fear of scandal.
And from a storytelling perspective.
Oh, it's brilliant. A masterstroke by Stevenson. It perfectly controls the information flow, keeps us hooked, and locks us into Utterson's frustrated viewpoint. We feel his agony of knowing, yet not knowing. And the way it's described, the packet slept in the inmost corner of his private safe. That personification is powerful. The letter isn't just paper. It's a living secret, dormant but dangerous, waiting. It symbolizes all those buried truths the characters try so hard to hide.
So Utterson, this man of law and order, must be absolutely tormented by this. He has the key, but he can't use it.
Completely tormented. It puts him in this terrible ethical bind. His loyalty to Lanyon, his dying wish, versus his own burning need to understand what's happening with Jekyll, fueled by his growing suspicions.
Because he is a lawyer driven to find facts.
Exactly. And yet he sticks to his principles. He respects the strict honor of Lanyon's instructions and locks the letter away in his own safe. This really underlines Utterson's strong moral compass, his commitment to Victorian codes, even when his insides must be churning.
Even though he suspects Jekyll is involved in some evil doings.
Even then, he won't break that promise to a dead friend. It showcases that internal battle, the rational lawyer wanting answers versus the honorable gentleman bound by his word. His adherence to propriety is almost painful here. We share his frustration completely. We know the answers are in that envelope, but it's sealed until tragedy strikes again. It makes us feel Utterson's helplessness and his growing dread as he becomes the keeper of this awful, ticking secret. He's trapped by his own integrity. #tag conclusion meet.
Okay, let's try and pull this all together then. Chapter 6. The Remarkable Incident of Dr. Lanyon. It's clearly way more than just moving the plot along. How does it really stand out as a crucial turning point in the novel?
Well, it's absolutely pivotal. Chapter 6 marks this really significant, really dark shift. We move away from just seeing the outward horror of Hyde's actions, like the murder, and we start looking more at Jekyll's internal torment. But maybe more importantly, we see how that internal torment is now actively destroying the lives of those closest to him. It's not contained anymore.
Starting with Jekyll's own failed return to normalcy.
Right. His brief recovery shatters, he becomes a recluse again, and the mystery around him just deepens. It makes it clear the problem isn't just Hyde being out there, it's the consequences of Jekyll's choices spreading like a disease.
And then the huge development, Lanyon.
Yes, Lanyon's shocking decline and death is the absolute core of this chapter's impact. His physical collapse, stemming from that terror of the mind, it's the first concrete, devastating proof of how deadly Jekyll's experiments really are. Lanyon's fate isn't just sad, it's a powerful warning. It screams that some knowledge is too dangerous, too unnatural for us to handle. The central conflict, Jekyll's duality, it gets way more complicated here. It's not just about one man's struggle, it's actively destroying friendships, spreading fear, causing death.
And it all leads to that letter.
Exactly. The chapter ends by introducing Lanyon's sealed letter, which is just a brilliant way to crank up the suspense to 11. It brings secrecy right back to the forefront as the driving force of the mystery. It's like a narrative time bomb. We know it holds the truth, but we can only get to it through more tragedy. It forces Utterson into this role of the unwilling secret keeper and keeps us, the readers, completely on edge, waiting for the inevitable explosion. This chapter lights the fuse.
So the stage is absolutely set. Utterson has the key, locked away by a promise. It really leaves us wondering, when does keeping a secret become too much to bear? And what happens when that horrifying truth finally breaks free? Thank you for joining us on this literary journey. Hit subscribe and share to become part of our AI-human collaboration where every listener helps shape future episodes.